galaxy calls, a chant from the stars to come live in the core. We'll jump together, my friends. Every flash of light's another hand to carry the weight. Jump on board into those cars. Oh, we're the wandering souls. We come and lend a hand for the distant worlds. Or take a blaster or two, 'cause in those pristine rings there's a fortune for you. We'll work together, my friend, as the mother lode cracks. This might come to an end. But jump on board into those chords. Oh, we're the wandering souls. But come and lend a hand for the distant world. Laughter's fire and jump drives count. A voice can't feel, there's a chatter about. The target's set and the work's in your hands. Come and build a hope in the distant lands. Search those systems till there's nothing to find. Leave the trouble in the bubble way behind. This is your chance as the future unfolds. Come and lend a hand on the distant world.
Hi, Commander Kumar the Far here, and you're listening to Lave Radio. Up next is a track that I wrote based on a true story. It's called Pirates Took My Spaceship. Now, if you want to listen to more stuff that I've written, you can find that at soundcloud.com/KUMARTHEFFAR-1. Oh crap, the back!
fellow commanders, my name is Chloe, and next up, you're listening to my track Far Away. If you'd like to listen to more of my work, please visit www.soundcloud.com/chollyhappymusic. Fly safe and enjoy the show here on Lave Radio.
Dog's got a heart, hasn't he? I'm a joking apart, hasn't he? And though I'd be the first to admit this is a little like hell, I'm finding it hard to be really as calm as they tell. I'm reviewing the simulation. Can one system be this tricky all the time? All the trials and tribulations, better find a way to deal with all this crime. Alvin to play and jump at me, pay fines with me by go from me and go for me and nag at me, and all the while he'd wag at me the hours that he would take from me, a misery he'd make for me. I think I'd better buy a mug again. This system you can keep. Anyway, we didn't want it. Anyway, we can have any system or world, and I'm starting from now. They ask, how to win systems, dear nocturnal boy. So how? I'm reviewing the simulation. I must quickly look up everyone I know. Title people with a station whose ships can make a real impressive show. I'll adopt a wealthy pilot stance and run a fleet of Ferdinands and wave at all the passing ships with friendliness as much as is befitting fair and ne'er-do-well. Good morrow to your dear lad. Gold, I think I'd better buy a mug again. This data, where should it go? Somebody? Who do I know? Nobody. All my dearest companions have always been smugglers and thieves. So at Alvin's behest, they should start turning over new leaves. I'm reviewing the simulation. If you want a boom, you've got to spend a bob. Is it such a humiliation for a trucker to perform an honest job? So a job I'm getting, possibly. I wonder if the boss will be permanently cross with me, what missions he will give to me. I'll stack a bait and finish late and fix this state. Oh, but wait, I think I'd better buy a mug again. What happens when we hit 70? Expansion time again. At 70, we're bold. The dice have rolled. Who knows which system we will try? Don't worry about credits. I've enough for just one more rebuy. I'm reviewing the simulation. I'm addicted, and addicted I shall stay. You'll be seeing no transformation, but it's tiring working hot and every day. I don't want nobody bit for me or made to clean his ship for me. This hottin' life is not for me, it's getting far too hot for me. There's no rebuy screen for me. But who will change the scene for me? Stack missions day by day for me. But who can have the final say like me? I think I better buy a mug again.
G'day, Commanders. When the munchies take a hold and the Starscape Vista appears before you, what better time? Here is Space and Biscuits by 12 Strings Inc., available on SoundCloud and presented to you via Lave Radio. Commander Strings out.
I could murder a cup of tea. Yorkshire Gold, if you have it. Double Yorkshire Gold. And if you don't have it, you're dead. Lave Radio, broadcasting to every corner of the galaxy.
Eddie Lee Wise here. Our family-run business looks after all your sartorial needs. Whether you need something to turn your pink python purple, or you want to wrap your buns up in a nice tight flight suit, my husband Ken can sort you right out. He's an expert at inside leg, and my wife Barb's is a whiz with a sewing machine. Bespoke tarting for you and your ship. Visit Eddie and Sons, plus me daughters, at Lave Station. Right, sir. Cough, please.
Broadcast from an orange sidewinder and hosted by a vending machine technician, it's Lave Radio.
Attention. Would you like to reorder, rate, or rate? Would you like to do so?
Space can be lonely.
What now?
Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to episode 317 of Lave Radio, the show that likes to talk about the universe of Elite and the fantastic community that surrounds it. I'm your host, Commander Phoenix Defire, otherwise known as Colin Ford, Chief Archivist at Lave Station. And joining me in the Orange Sidewinder bar for this episode, we have our Deputy Trade Attaché, Commander Sovereign.
What up?
We have our Inhuman Resources Director, Commander Shan.
Hello.
We also have our Head of Health and Safety, Commander Edelweiss. That's Ben Moss-Woodward.
Right, sir. Cough, please.
Mhm. And also helping us out tonight is our Tech Monkey, Commander Ventura.
Hello.
Hello. We are, if you wish, you can join Ben, who's hanging out in open at the at Lave Station itself. Now, we are not going to be putting a bounty on Ben tonight, so if you want to kill him, you only do that for your own personal pleasure. So, if you can't get to us in game, you can join the Twitch chat channel, which you can access through laveradio.com/live and click on the live chat, and on just going to twitch.tv/laveradio. So, as per usual, we'll just quickly go around the crew, see how they've been for the last, well, for the last while, and then, yes. So we'll start off with Commander Shan. How you been?
I haven't been too bad, thank you, Colin. Let me see. I partook in the CG over the weekend, so took my carrier out and was busy transferring the CG materials to and fro. So it was quite nice to do some hauling for a change, actually. So I had that in real life. What did I do at the weekend? Not much really. It was wet all weekend really, so didn't really get a lot of chance to do much other than sort of sit by the fire and watch TV. So yeah, it was all right really. I'm kind of wanting to be spring now. I kind of getting the urge to go places, if you see what I mean. Even though we're in lockdown, but you just want to go outside and enjoy the countryside. But when it's wet, not really.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Commander Sovereign, how have you been?
Smashing, thanks. I have been letting strangers come and look at my flat and consider whether to give me money for it, which they have not deigned to do just yet. And I have not been doing the CG, which I am upset about because I would have quite liked to have, but I didn't manage to make it in, which is a bit of a shame, because I would have really liked one of those snazzy new FSDs. I've been playing a bit of No Man's Sky with Dr. Kai. We've started a new save game from scratch where we're basically playing the entire game from right from the beginning as co-op. So we're only logging into that save together, and it's actually really, really good fun. Like my No Man's Sky save is several years old now, so the game's changed quite a lot since I since I started it, and experiencing the game from scratch with all the updates that have happened over the last couple of years is brilliant. Actually, it's really good fun.
See, I wouldn't have the patience to do that. I'd be tempted to like sneak and log on just to get ahead of the other person, and then pretend I had like a lucky drop or something. Just
Well, there's I'd gain nothing from that because if my jump range is longer than him, then it just means that we'd not be able to do things together. Or
yeah,
whatever,
but
right?
just think of all the entertainment you could get by calling them a snail and all sorts of stuff like that.
Minimal.
Shan, can you please look up the Oxford English Dictionary for me of the definition of cooperative?
And
there is co-op, cooperative trolling.
Yeah, Shan, you are why we can't have nice things.
On the subject of not having nice things, Ben, how's your week been?
We can't have a nice Twitter account, can we, Ben?
No,
we do have
funny
a nice
that.
we do have a nice Twitter account. It's lovely and it works.
Well, it works now.
It works now, yes. So what I did partake in the CG, but I was doing it the honest way and actually doing long distance bowl calling, not cheating and using a fleet carrier for it.
Hang on a minute. One still has to cart the goods from place A to your carrier.
Yeah.
And unless you are cheeky and set a really high buy price and get other commanders to do it for you, then when they're full, No, I'm honest.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I did the CG, but I was doing it the old-fashioned way, by just doing it by myself and not using fleet carriers or anything like that. But I only got into the top 75% because I only did it for a couple of days, a couple of nights, and I was doing many other things basically. One of which included spending an evening of great fun actually, playing Grand Theft Auto with Grant and his son Dylan, and a bunch of other people, just basically doing lots and lots of silly things in GTA. Which is what Dylan wanted to do because obviously he couldn't have a real party.
So is it true, Ben, that your bedtime is 8:30 because you've got a school day in the morning?
No.
Yes, for those of you who are unaware, Lave Radio Twitter went offline because somebody decided that our first broadcast date must be our birthday. So therefore, all of a sudden, we were 7 and then banned. So, yes. And when, of course, Lave Radio is your default Twitter account, it kind of screws you over a little bit because you can't get to your other account.
But you made it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was doing that. The other thing I did a lot of was I watched a lot of the ISS, the Dragon's trip to the ISS.
Oh, the Thunderbird launch, as I call it.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of Thunderbird launch, have you seen somebody's gone off and done a SpaceX does Thunderbirds kind of thing?
Yeah, I've seen that. That's exactly what I was referring to.
Yeah. So you got like the Starlink satellite as Thunderbird 5. I can't remember what the drone ship was Thunderbird 4. Starship was Thunderbird 2. What's Starship Heavy? Well, no, the Falcon Heavy was Thunderbird 3. The Starship was Thunderbird 2, and of course the Dragon, the Crew Dragon, was Thunderbird 1, with lots of rapid unscheduled disassemblies and things like that.
Yes.
Very well done, all for for SpaceX's booms and fun things like that.
Well, it's got even sadder than that in the still sad Tesla community, or in the market for Tesla aftermarket gubbins, because on Amazon, as part of their sale this week, apparently there are, when you open a car door, and in some cars there are little lights that are called puddle lights, they illuminate the puddle, etc.
Yeah.
Well, apparently now for Teslas you can get a SpaceX logo puddle light, so when you open it up you get the SpaceX
And of
And,
course,
and no, I have not got one.
and that'll cost, of course, an extra £2,000.
No, they're quite a reasonable 50 quid from America.
I was going to say, couldn't you just do it with regular puddle lights and a bit of vinyl?
Yeah, but you've got to make the vinyl the right shape, haven't you?
Well, I'm sure we know people who could make a SpaceX vinyl cutout, for example.
Probably, but I just thought, well, that's
Yeah.
a bit
It's a good
silly.
idea.
I can understand I can understand brighter puddle light, or
Yeah.
because on my AMG they had a Mercedes shaped puddle light on it, and I can understand that, but SpaceX, I don't know, that's just taking fandom a bit far. I thought.
There are a lot of Elon fans, and I was seeing on the streams that allowed chats, along with all the people saying the Earth is flat and things like that, were people who were like, "Where's Elon?" And of course, Elon may or may not have COVID, which nicely takes me on to say, Colin, how the devil are you?
I am, well, as you can still hear, still breathing. Yes, it's been a very difficult couple of weeks. I'm not going to lie. Anybody who says, "Oh, it's just like flu," I will personally come up and slap with a wet fish, because it's not great. And even now, I've still got this sort of slight difficulty in breathing. It's like having a mild asthma attack all the time, but none of the inhalers work. And it lingers. It's got a real horrible tail to it, and I mean, obviously, with what's been announced with Commander Penfold and other people, I do feel quite lucky that, being sort of in the borderline age bracket, that it really can affect quite badly. I'm quite relieved that I'm here where I am. But just do not come up to me and say, "Oh, it's just a hoax," or "It's just like flu," because I will punch you.
And then you'd be out of breath afterwards.
Well, yeah, that's actually if I've got the breath to be able to punch, which I did try a karate kata a couple of days ago, and at the end of that kata, I was there going, "Okay, that's not there yet."
You do.
No.
Well, you just random around karate chopping people, do you, to see if you're better?
Yes, Shanna, of course. Every time I think of a snarky remark that you've given me, it does motivate me more to punch harder. So,
in all seriousness, Colin, I know you were quite concerned over previous things that happened, but it actually demonstrates you're probably fitter and healthier than you thought you were, in a rather black way.
Yes. The missus who basically runs half marathons, she got over it very well, reasonably quickly. But there is a difference to an overweight asthmatic Scotsman catching it, which does, of course, cause problems. In other news, though, I have been joining in the CG. So far, I decided to try my best at getting a couple of Thargoid interceptor kills under my belt. So far, my score is 6 attempts, no successes, and 2 lost crates. And the best I could manage was 2 hearts. So it's been a rather frustrating couple of week. But I have finally done it. I am now triple elite. I did wipe out 1,600 plus scouts in order to do it. And so I can now tick that off my box. And I think it's now a good idea that, well, I'm quite relieved that Odyssey is happening, because I can now understand that once you actually hit that level, you're there kind of thinking, okay, now what?
So did you get a Thargoid heart then to turn it into your Thargoid bobblehead?
No, like I said, I have not managed to actually kill, or solo rather, a Cyclops yet. Like I said, 6 attempts and didn't manage to get any.
That's like Ben then, sorry.
Oh no, I've still managed to get some Thargoid hearts. You know, it's not like Ben who can't hit side of a barn.
I'm sure I remember killing you last Thursday, Colin. And I know you killed me too.
No, I think I've got the stats for that. I think you got me once, and I got you 8 times.
Hang on, Ben. You were attacking someone who is under the weather with COVID.
We were playing CQC.
CQC, yes.
Colin was in the winning team.
As always. Well, actually, apart from today. Less said about that, the better.
Yeah, Colin was in the team with like Obi-Wan, who is amazing at CQC.
Yep.
And then Arthur and Stephen, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see Obi-Wan and Musketeer just sort of basically mix it up, because those two are the creme of the creme of the CQC community. And yes, we basically had our backsides handed to us on a plate, which we were going to go into later, but yeah.
I think Obi-Wan would win that. As long as he had the high ground, it'd be all right.
We did that joke all the way through. Sort of, Obi-Wan's on their time. He always wins because he knows the high ground. So,
that was a lot of fun for that CQC.
Yeah. I will take this opportunity though to say thanks to everybody in the Elite community who sent me nice get well soon messages. That was when they started coming through. I was probably at one of the lowest points, so it was really appreciated. So thanks everybody.
Did it warm your cockles? Did it?
Well, at the time, my cockles were probably in a very, very high temperature, so they were already warm. But I don't want to even think about what was happening at that point to my poor decrepit body.
Oh, look on the bright side now, Colin. You won't need 2 injections next year.
Yeah, I'll probably. Oh, actually, no, because we don't know how long you get the immunity for.
Yeah.
From what I could understand, some people the immunity lasts quite a while. Other people the immunity disappears within basically a month. So yeah, they just do not know.
So what we need to do then, Colin, is every month we send you to the COVID ward, and if you come back with it, we know when your immunity's gone.
Oh, thanks. Yes. Well, at the moment, the NHS are chasing me quite a lot to try and get me to donate stuff so that it will help other people. So we'll just have to
do it.
So the vaccine is actually just Colin's blood.
Oh, good grief! There isn't enough. There isn't enough.
Wouldn't it be interesting if Colin's blood ended up inside Dominic Cummings or someone like that?
Oh God, I don't think I could live myself.
Well, I think Dominic Cummings would probably just go off and suck Colin's blood anyway.
I don't know. He'd have to find me first because, as we all know, he's got difficulty finding a castle.
I am enjoying this fitting image caricature of Dominic Cummings.
I'm enjoying spitting image in general, to be honest.
The puppets are astonishingly good. The puppets are hilarious on their own.
Yeah. Oh, they always are. They always were good. So the fact that, yeah. Anyway, I think we should move on. Enough of the.
Before you go, Colin, we did have a request. You could give us a couple of COVID coughs so we knew what they sounded like.
I think you've been doing that already.
Yes, I mean, okay, it's a straightforward dry cough like that, and basically, if you do bring something up, it's more like blooming foam.
Ew.
Yes, it's basically it's like coughing up tiny amount of shaving foam. That's what it's like.
Oh, it's white foam, so it's not green mucus.
No.
It would give pneumonia.
No, nothing like that at all.
That's good to know because I know when I've got a cold or something, and you still got the cough, but it's a real nasty clump of green crap that you cough up.
So I guess the health lesson is that when you cough something up, inspect the colour. Now, is there an NHS provided colour chart where you can look it up, see what like you do when you do a urine test, is all the pHs and stuff like that. Is there like a chart you can look at?
You know, Shan, I haven't really gone that much into it, so no, I don't think so.
And Colin, a certain Mr. Stabler is
Uh-huh.
asking for: are there any pics of Colin at his worst? Wear a mask or you'll end up looking like this Scots bloke. Unfit Scottish bloke.
Oh, thanks.
And to be honest, I think a picture of Colin looking at his worst is probably quite close to me looking at my best.
We're back to the Teletubby images
Well,
again.
on some tubes, couldn't you? And then just sort of make yourself up to look worse than you were.
I'm sure that could probably be arranged. Beetle Jude could have certainly come up with a horrible artistic expression. Anyway,
Have you seen this man?
Way, I haven't. Subri's been very quiet. Have we scared him away?
I'm here. I've got nothing.
All right.
He's good. He's young, fit, and healthy. He doesn't need to get involved with his old man talk.
Yeah, I don't have anything to contribute, so I'm not saying anything. But I'm still here.
Right. Well, after all that, we will move along and actually talk about some Elite Dangerous. So, development news. What have the devs been saying this week? Well, obviously, starting on Wednesday, or is it Thursday? From the 19th of November to the 26th of November, Elite Dangerous is free on the Epic Games Store. Wow, good move.
That includes Horizons as well, I believe, doesn't it? So
yes. Well,
it's Horizons as well.
Yeah, of course
Yep.
it's Horizons
It does,
as well.
yes. It's pretty big, actually, because until extremely recently, Elite Dangerous was sometimes £7, and you only got half the game because you couldn't land on any planets or mod your ships at all, which realistically, for anybody playing more than 10 hours or something, is a pretty limited experience. Within the space of a couple of weeks, Horizons has been bundled into the base game, and it has gone on sale for £4 on the Humble Store, and next week it will be completely free. So it is a huge, it is a really large opening of the or sort of
the player base, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It potentially makes the full experience as it stands at the moment much more accessible to nearly everybody. So it's quite an interesting move, I think.
Yeah.
Timing's interesting.
Go on, Shan. You broke out a bit there.
Timing is interesting because I'm trying to think of how this fits in with their Odyssey marketing plan, because I would have expected, and again, this is me armchair game developing again, but I would have expected them to have a release date closer to it going free to play for a week, so you get lots of interest in the game, and on the wave of that interest in the game going free, it then comes along to continue the momentum. So unless they're wanting it to go free, get players hooked for a while, and then have another bump, either announcing a release date or Odyssey. I don't know. I'm just wondering how it fits in.
No, I think it's pretty. I think it's quite transparent in that the game. They haven't charged anything for the game since 2017. It has. They probably correctly surmise that the game as it stands has. It has washed its face comfortably. It's profitable. They've so in terms of the working earning lifetime of Horizons, they probably view that as functionally done. And they want to have and who are the most likely purchasers of Horizons? Existing Elite Dangerous players. Ergo, the more existing Elite Dangerous players there are, the more copies of Horizon they sell. If the smart money is to be believed, Odyssey will release early January or at least January rather than 31st of March, as some people seem to think. Therefore, making it free from what will be late November so that people can get their teeth wet. What does that even mean? Get their feet wet before the
teeth wet.
Yeah, I know, ridiculous. Will mean that everybody's greatly increases the captive market for Odyssey. I think it's a pretty transparent move, and it's really smart. But it completely changes the equation for existing players. For 6 years, I've said, I'm not interested in an alt because I've got an LEP and I don't want to have to buy bits and bobs of the game again in various bits. But now suddenly I can pick up an alt for free, and it's full. It's the full experience. It's as much of the experience as my LEP has, minus the Cobra Mark 4. Yeah, it's very cool. I think.
I shouldn't.
Hang on. One thing I should actually point out at this point, because we are being shouted at in the chat, but if you do go for an alt with the Epic Store, you have to make sure it's a unique email address. You can't use the same email address as, say, your Steam account or any existing account, because they can't separate, obviously, the unique identifiers. So there's a useful tip to everybody. If you are going for this, you'll need a separate email account.
Does anybody know if you can do the Gmail duplication with this? So I could do like aid.loveice.epic, say.
Yeah, you should be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean that email address has to be unique. So, but as long as it's not a duplicate that you've used for another account, you should be fine.
What about Epic will care about the address as written. They won't care about whether it's an alias or not.
No. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pick another copy up. My flatmate's also said he's going to pick a copy up, and I think my son may be doing so too.
Hey, I'm going to try and get the Suvette to pick it up. That'll be an exercise in futility. She's knee deep in Mario at the minute.
All right.
I'm not sure that AX. Not sure. All of them. I think she's just bought compilations. I'm not sure that AX is going to be quite up her alley just yet. Sadly.
Yeah, but put it this way, I mean, the couple that flies together stays together, so, multi-crew will...
That famous adage.
Multi-crew will help.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I ought to put it in those terms. I'll be like, look, our relationship is really going to suffer unless you can get your combat rank up.
and of course, come Odyssey, she'll actually be able to actually walk on your ship. Just tend to.
I mean, that's a bone of contention because she won't.
Well, that'd be good to see a war, wouldn't it? Watching Sue and the Suvette fly a spaceship together. It'd be like when they're in the car trying to navigate or something. That's 4C, not.
She has tried. She's flown in VR, and I was gripped with a fit of enthusiasm for getting her to embrace my hobbies, and she was shit at it. Couldn't even dock.
Yeah, but honestly,
at the time he was 7, so my 7-year-old can dock.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the problem is you don't want to hand over your triple elite rated, fully engineered ship to someone who's not tried it before.
It was a tutorial. I mean, what do you think?
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, my son went through the tutorial first, and then he was like, "Can I try flying some of your other ships?" And I was like, "Okay, you can try that one, and you can try that one, and
you can try all my small ones." And Ben,
I wasn't
into CQC.
Yeah, I wasn't going to let him into.
Oh, your cutter, is that all right?
I wouldn't actually mind if he wanted to try the cutter. I'd go and put an autolander on it first.
I've earned you lots of money. I've sold all your ships.
You just go off and let your son go and do mining.
I mean, that's a really good point. I might actually change my plan to not have children now and just breed a little farm of grinders who can just mine. Who can just do core mining for me all day.
What do you think the Shanlings did when they were younger? That's why I got them into gaming, so they could do all the grinding and stuff I didn't want to do.
How did they graduate from that to bugling and horse riding?
Time.
Yeah,
They had to channel that anger somewhere.
All I've done is fucking blow up asteroids for 17 years. I'm going to learn to fucking bugle.
Let's face it. If you had Shan as a father, you'd probably want to join the military too.
Yeah, join
that
up
is a
and
very
kill
good point.
people elsewhere.
That's nice. I'm telling you.
Right, in other news, Dev Diary 3, Arth has
Doesn't
announced.
exist.
Well, it doesn't exist yet. It has been delayed due to the second lockdown. Apparently, it is due in December, which is going to make December a busy month. Arthur has been dropping hints that something is being planned for December, and he's really looking forward to it. So that'll be either something really good or really scary. Your choice.
Shall we do a speculation on what this something really good is going to be? Just a quick one-liner each or something.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Sue, do you want to go first or shall I?
You go first.
Okay. I think what they're going to do is they're going to bring back the Christmas stream.
Okay, I'm gonna make a suggestion that's not bullshit. I think they will do a big fun
that
event.
charity Christmas stream wasn't bullshit. That was good fun.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
It's okay. I don't really watch the live streams. I don't understand how you lot are like, oh yeah, I'm going to drop what I'm doing to watch Stephen be shit at combat. I just don't understand the appeal of watching all the live streams. But, whatever.
It's called research. We're just hoping that they will drop a slight hint or something. Sometimes it is very much like pulling teeth. And you're going, we're watching this for the hope for one small golden nugget.
Exactly. You guys have a lot more patience than I do. Like, not that my life is busy or exciting, but there aren't the hours in the day to watch Frontiers Elite Dangerous streams.
One interesting thing about the information given about the Dev Diary was it was delayed because of the second lockdown. Now, just in my mind, having people in a different location doesn't necessarily delay someone sitting out and typing it, especially if the game was sufficiently advanced for them to be able to write about it.
Oh, no, I think this is mostly along the lines that they were doing interviews in the studio. And in order to do interviews in the studio, you have to pull people in. Just as the lockdown was happening, they couldn't pull people down into the studio anymore.
What, the Zoom?
Yeah, I know there's Zoom, but
I'm just thinking is that if they've got the material, working in a different location shouldn't delay it for an extra 3 weeks.
I think I agree with Shan here that why do you need to go into the office to record a piece to camera?
Well, these things are quite involved. The Dev
because they want it to look really good. They want it to look not as if someone's been doing it on Zoom, because we know when
people can hold Zoom conversations. I'm sure Frontier can.
I think you're misunderstanding they're called Dev Diaries because they appreciate that we like that. But what they actually are is marketing videos. The Dev Diaries correspond exactly to the subheadings for the Odyssey blurb on the Frontier website. What they are is a series of trailers which are being staggered before release. They're not actually Dev Diaries. They're extended trailers, and they should be viewed as such. They're quite sophisticated. Well, not sophisticated, but they're quite polished marketing material. They're not the kind of thing that they want to bash out on Zoom.
Yeah, because when they were doing the interviews with PC Gamer over Zoom, you could tell that they wanted to actually show off something with a little bit more pizzazz. But when you just got someone over a Zoom call, it just doesn't give you that level of quality that I think they were after. Yeah, I know, but this will be shown long after 2020, long after all the issues that have been happening now. Fingers crossed. So, anyway, my guess for what might be Christmas: Santa Tharg. It will be a special Thargoid that goes around the galaxy delivering death to everybody. How's that?
Have you been naughty or nice?
Look, I'm being punished enough.
That's nice. Yeah, very nice.
Shan, Santa Tharg is going to come for you, Shan. He's going to be so impolite to you.
Santa Tharg might be nice to Colin because one of the things that they mentioned today was a combat balance pass, and my God, I hope that includes Thargoids. Killing Thargoids, even if you succeed, is a
million, yeah.
is a financial burden rather than financial reward.
Yeah, absolutely. Is this main discussion fodder?
It's later discussion fodder. We've got a couple of items to touch on first, but Shan, do you have do you want to join in this Christmas speculation?
Yes, I think it will be more. Well, I don't think it will be Christmas themed. I think they'll want to be inclusive and not have a specifically Christmas themed. I think though, because it'll be a more wintry thing than a Christmas thing, I think. But I think it will be talking about. If I was having to link a theme, it would be ice planets, because one thing they haven't talked about yet is the new ice planet.
Yeah, very good point.
So if I was looking at giving information with a wintry theme, I would be looking at ice planets and things you could do.
And you could even have Santa Tharg going around being pulled along by a little formation of Thargons.
That is a great point, Shan. That's a really, really good point.
It's one of the symptoms of COVID is hallucinations, Colin, because you should have got the Santa Tharg on the main. So, yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it'll do ice planets because we've heard nothing about them since they showed the pictures.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything about them for like 5 years.
And then we get 2 mentions in the dev diaries, and that's it. Everybody's go, "Wah!" Yeah. Anyway, last Thursday,
we do have one other.
Oh, hello.
There is one other suggestion, and this is something I was going to bring up. If we're going with a January release date, I and also Kai are wondering if Frontier might do a come and pre-order Odyssey, and if you order pre-Odyssey, then the beta's starting today. Come and get it.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So we basically pre-order or lifetime expansion people would get Odyssey beta sometime during December. And that, to be honest, we've got that would also tie in with the game going free on Epic, because the game's going free next week. It'll be finishing. Let me check my dates. So datey. So it's going from the 19th to the 26th. Imagine if we had the Odyssey beta starting on the 3rd of December.
Okay, that is a nice bit of speculation, but personally, I don't feel that happening. But it would be nice if it did. Go on then, Shan.
Or pre-order Odyssey and get the ability to buy a Cobra Mark 5, which is even crappier than a Cobra Mark 4.
Can we not get a Baby Yoda?
I think they have learned their lesson from what
I agree.
Arthur and Bruce has said in the past. They are never going to be giving away unique ships as part of this kind of thing. Ship skins, maybe.
Don't give them away. You had to buy them.
Yeah, I know, but you still got the
exclusive Cobra Mark 4 if you pre-order.
Yeah, exactly. And they've learned their lesson, because this. Oh God, every single. I think it's once every 2 weeks someone starts off a new Cobra Mark 4 thread, and it's absolutely hilarious. I am still of the opinion that is the only item I've ever seen that is pay to lose.
I actually really like it. I fly a Cobra Mark 4, and
having a Cobra Mark 5 would shut the Cobra Mark 4 people up, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but what happens?
Especially
if you can't have a Cobra Mark 5 if you've already got a Cobra Mark 4. Salt generation. Anyway,
from the lepers if you've got that.
Moving quickly on before we generate a new Salt Mountain. Obviously, Thursday's stream where Arthur and Bruce took on some notorious CQC player called Obi-Wan in several matches. Yeah, it is fair to say that Obi-Wan trounced all comers, including yours truly and Ben, who came along. Eventually, teams were formed, leading to Commander Edelweiss being kicked all around the map. And I will say, it was like watching a fluffy puppy being used as a football.
I've tried that. It's not as much fun as it sounds.
Well, Ben, did you enjoy your humiliation?
I didn't think it was completely humiliating.
No, admittedly, you didn't.
I
You were doing.
I had a in the first couple of matches. I had a positive kill death balance by a fairly significant margin. Just going up against people like Obi-Wan. Good luck with that. Yeah, and Obi-Wan was like, I would go off and like, okay, there's Steven. And all of a sudden, like, I'm opening up on Steven, thinking, right, I've got this. It's like, you've been killed by Commander Obi-Wan. You've been killed by Commander Obi-Wan. You've been killed by Commander Obi-Wan and Colin and Arthur. Oh, cheers, guys.
Well, yes, they were quoted as saying, right, we're going to show Commander Edelweiss some FDev love, and then they blew him up.
Yeah, I did get some FDev love.
Right, well, that's redefined love for me, anyway. So, moving on to today, there was obviously the stream at the new time of 4:30, and of course it was Arthur and Bruce again, and there were a couple of interesting nitpicks that Arthur mentioned. The first thing was that they are now looking at changing the way that credits are generated. Balancing, they've called it. Now, they're going to start with mining, which, of course, has got a lot of people going, a bit scared, because whatever they use to generate money for their fleet carriers is going to change. And Arthur has said they are fully prepared for the pitchforks and torches of an angry mob if they're not happy. So
I like that honesty.
Yeah, they said, right, we're going to change it, and we're ready for you. So Stuart GT came up with some fantastic summary. They are looking to change the way that the risk and reward system is currently done, so that items which will be riskier will get you bigger rewards, and things that need skill will get you bigger rewards. So they have decided that they're going to start with mining next week. Combat will then be looked at in 2 weeks' time. They'll be looking at how much is earned per hour, the different loops, what risk, what reward, and the skill that's required for this. So before we go into any more details, what's your initial reaction to this one?
My initial reaction is, can you hand out the telescopes, please, to try and find the horse that bolted from the stable 2 years ago? Because it's okay looking at the balancing now, and I'll come on to that in a second. But will it not, if you like, you have a have and have not. You have the people who use the current system and really went for it and have now got tens and hundreds of billions of credits, so don't need to worry about this balancing at all. That doesn't affect them because they've already got, everything they could ever want. So how are they going to address that, or indeed are they just going to say, well, from next week, this is the earning potential?
Yep.
But also, and I know we talked about combat and risk and reward, what are they using as the mechanism for judging balance? Are they going to balance around PvP, or are they going to balance around PvE? Because trying to balance both, I think, over the history of gaming, has pretty much turned out to be impossible. So if you balance against PvE, the PvP players find the optimum build and carry on murdering everyone. And if you balance around PvP, the PvE players suddenly find it very unrewarding. And that's a huge can of worms, because I was thinking about this earlier, actually, is that if you balance around PvP, you then ask yourself, well, at what ships do you make more powerful or less powerful? Because if you balance around like a pure combat ship, let's say like the Third Lance, should a single Third Lance be able to take down what is in effect a cruiser, i.e. a corvette or a cutter, as easily as it can, or should you be able, where does the ships fit in this and their roles, and how do you balance around that? Because I'm going back to Third Lance. The Third Lance is, for its size, very overpowered, and that's why every PvP player pretty much likes one, because it's got strong shields with a engineered power plant. Your strong shields.
Before you get too high on your soapbox, the only thing they're balancing is credits.
They're not balancing combat.
No, they're balancing combat earnings.
They're balancing earnings. They're not so basically, the idea is that they're going to look at what missions and what activities basically is the riskiest, and then will reward the risk with more credits.
That still comes back then that still comes down to PvP though, because PvP is included in that, isn't it?
Yeah, but at the moment they have a limit on the. You see, this is the thing. Until we actually see what they're going to come up with, we can't really criticize what they're going to do or critique what they're going to do.
No, I'm like, how are they going? Yes, they are. They're going to, because they're talking about balancing risk and reward.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in PvE, if you're in solo in an engineered ship, there is no risk.
And this is something that I was asking during the live stream: was will you be taking open or solo or indeed private groups into account? And I'm pretty sure that was all pointedly ignored.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's some universal truths about the Elite Dangerous experience that I would wager are immutable. One of them is that they will never ever markedly change the experience between open, private, and solo. And two, they will never openly pivot towards giving PvP serious consideration as a gameplay style. And I think they've made the decision fairly early on that their backers all played the previous games. Their backers were, it being multiplayer as a bonus for most of their core audience rather than the core drive. The PvP crowd I don't think they view them as core players. I don't think they view them as the nicest fans to interact with either. And I think that because of what Shan says, which is that actually you need to get busy doing one or get busy doing the other, otherwise you end up with tension. I think that they have internally that they are internally at peace with the idea that Elite Dangerous is primarily a harsh experience, but it is designed with PvE players in mind. So I really can't see them doing things like changing the experience for solo or private group, or balancing it so that it incentivizes players to kill other players. I just can't see them doing that.
But they said it's risk reward, and open is far riskier than doing stuff in solo.
And I think they're just going to blatantly ignore it, Shan.
Yeah, I agree with Ben. I think you're absolutely right. It is more risky, but playing with a blindfold on is more risky. It doesn't mean they need to incentivize it. Just your interpretation of it is that open is more risky, and you are absolutely correct. But AX is also a lot more risky than mining. What they mean when they talk about risk reward is that Arthur has actually, I think it was on Elite Week, Arthur actually admitted a few months ago that the design philosophy of Elite Dangerous to date has been, we want players to engage with all aspects of the game. So bits of the game that are fundamentally really exciting and draw players naturally, we've discounted how much they pay out, so that we incentivize players to do the things that aren't so viscerally exciting. So that's why mining pays That's why mining and trading pay so much more than AX and piracy, for example, because the latter two are considered exciting and rewards in their own right, whereas the former two are considered more sedate styles of play that need incentivizing with earning power. So
why does it take 2 years to realise this when it took the community 2 days to point it out?
Well, we've gone over this again and again and again, and it does feel like it's only with the new community team actually communicating this back rather forcibly to the devs that we've seen action happen on this.
I think it's Arthur. It's Arthur. He's a player. He gets it. Like he's probably hundreds. He's got probably at least hundreds of hours under his belt. He has similar frustrations. I definitely think that the change in tone and the increased attention paid to things that we think are important is the correlation with Arthur joining is pretty stark, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. I completely blame Arthur on this, and thank you.
Yeah, nothing I've just said is a criticism. I like the.
Yes,
I like
this
the
is a
fact
good thing.
I like the fact that that Frontier have decided that PvP is a nice ancillary to Elite rather than the core focus of it, and I like the fact that they are not going to spend too much time worrying about the tension between solo and open. I applaud those decisions. I think they're good. So yeah, none of that was a criticism. I just strongly think that when they talk about risk reward, what they mean is likelihood of getting your ship blown up through engaging in those game loops, rather than specifically likelihood of encountering hostile players.
Well, okay, quickly, Shan, before I can then bring.
I can't think they've kind of glossed over it, because if they're just talking about credits, I must admit I didn't see the stream, so I probably got the wrong end of this at the start. But if they're just talking about credits, then that doesn't actually address the real core of the issue, which is that once you've got a Corvette or whatever fully engineered, it's press fire button to win. It's just no skill in it at all. And when you said rebalance, I was hoping they'd actually look at the combat mechanics, look at the shielding, look at the hull benefit, look at all that stuff, do that, and then adjust the credits based on that new, for a better word, paradigm of combat. If they're just adjusting the credits, then I think, personally, my initial reaction is a tremendously missed opportunity.
Well, in my opinion, it's all they can do. All they can do at this moment in time.
Probably right.
Is change the back end rewards. Anything that you're discussing there, Shan, would involve basically changing the client, and we know that they're not working on that, because all those kind of balance changes, if you change the combat model or trying to balance out the ships, those need new client side code, and they're not going to do that, especially this close to Odyssey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know where you're coming from, Shan, and I completely agree with you about the fact that this thing really should have been looked at probably when
2013, 2014.
Yeah, that far back. I'll just go through the rest of the things, because Stuart GT from Reddit, Mr. King of Reddit, has put on quite a nice summary. They're going to focus on that core mining should always pay higher than just laser mining because it's more skillful. Obviously, as mining is heavily linked to the economy via commodities, they're going to be focusing on that one first. The next one will be combat, which they've said needs to be buffed, and you get better rewards from. Yep. Don't worry, Silver. We'll be back to you in a second. They're not going to work on wing missions because they think they've got wing missions right. Combat mission bounties and bonds is also on the list, and conflict zones will be looked at last. Now, personally, from my point of view, I hope that piracy gets a look in as well, because if there's something that's risky, it really needs a nice reward to it. But yeah. They said there won't be quick fixes. They will be constantly tweaking and checking the data for feedback. So even you could consider this to be some kind of advanced beta. And personally, I think And they've also said that a lot of the rebalancing will be tied with ongoing storylines. So They say they do have a roadmap for rebalancing, which they'll be posted later on the forum, along with an idea of the implementation. But it's one of these things where I'm agreeing with Sean in the lines of, they've needed a credit balance pass for quite a while. Unfortunately, at this point, for the more advanced players who have got their blooming fleet carrier and every ship and everything's engineered, it doesn't help. But what it does help are the players that have come along in, say, the last 6 months, and then all of a sudden, things, instead of just going straight forward, mining, they suddenly realize, oh, we've got stuff over here which pays just as well, but it's more fun.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think the one, I don't mind that. I don't think the combat model in Elite is too poorly balanced. I think that when Shan has in the past argued that we shouldn't have been able to engineer power plants because that would have introduced a natural
leveler,
leveler and bottleneck. I think that is a very, very good suggestion. But the idea that I don't actually agree with the idea that the third lance is problematic. There are species of vehicle who are designed to delete other vehicles, and I don't mind the fact that a fully engineered third lance is about the best thing for combat, because that's exactly what it's designed to do. I think that worries about horses bolting and the fact that given players have given amounts of wealth, I think again that misses the point that Frontier view Elite Dangerous as a single player simulator before they view it as an MMO. So I don't think that people who say like, oh god, the problem with the credit the credit earnings rebalancing is that the horse is already bolted. I don't agree with that, because I don't think Frontier care that lots of players are rich. It doesn't. And as I've argued before, because Elite does not have a true economy, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. If I'm flying around and I'm enjoying my experience 40 hours into the game, trading away, and I'm saving up for my Type 7 or whatever, the fact that I see lots of cutters is irrelevant to me. And if they blow me up, I can just hop into solo, and it's even more irrelevant to me. The Elite is not it is not a zero-sum game. The existence of rich players does not diminish my experience at all. And Frontier are studious to ensure that by making sure that there's parity between the game modes. So I really don't think that the earnings rebalance is. I think you've got to be pretty. I think if you think that it's going to impact you're failing to understand that, or you're not giving credit to the experience that Frontier are trying to create, which is first and foremost a first-person space simulator, and secondly a big multiplayer emergent gameplay sandbox. If that makes any sense.
I think I do agree with you on some level too, but I think the side of the equation that what you're saying maybe doesn't factor in as much as perhaps it should is the interpretation and expectation of the player. Because a player sees this is a multiplayer game, I can play with my friends, I can do this. So therefore there is a natural comparison mechanic built into all of us. So yes, you can treat it as like, I'm a single player, whatever, absolutely. But that doesn't take into account the almost competitive by nature way people are. So and you can't get away from the fact it is a multiplayer game. It needs continuous balance and watching simply because of that. And they basically needed to choose one thing or the other back when they designed.
Well, I'll give you an example of when they did try to balance this thing out. They said, I remember Sandra saying, right, we're going to actually up the bonuses for people playing Power Play in open, and that just opened the salt gates even though Sandro's point was actually quite valid, is that the people who play Power Play in Open not only have to deal with the NPCs coming after them, they're going to have other players coming after them as well. So that means that, the difficulty is harder and they should have a better reward. Now, I remember the storm that happened after that, which was also linked in with some of the open-only Power Play stuff. And as soon as you start mentioning that one game mode gets an advantage over the other, it just opens the floodgates. But moving on from this, both Obsidian Ant and the Burpit have already created videos discussing a lot of these points. So we'll put links to those guys in the show notes. But we're still not finished, because there was another little thing that Arthur and Bruce did talk about today. Now, they get a lot of requests about memorials. Now, obviously, I was listening to last week's show, and very saddened to hear about the commanders who have passed. And obviously, in this situation, there might be more of these unfortunate events happening than normal. And Arthur says he gets a lot of requests about putting in memorials or tourist beacons and things like that for people. And he says that it's actually very hard for Frontier to manage, because they have to make a judgment call about who is worthy enough to be in the game and who isn't. Now, FDev at the moment are trying to find the right way that's sensitive and inclusive. They obviously, Nath said he does want to do this kind of thing about memorials, or they do want to do these kind of things like memorials, but they've got to get it right. Now, I think this is a great thing that they're doing for the community, but it does come with caveats. Shan?
Yes, I saw this, and there was a few questions that sprung to mind when I read it. Was that, first of all, how are they going to validate said deceased commander really is deceased? Is this a Mark Twain scenario when rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated? How and to validate the person has passed is actually quite a big task emotionally for the person who wants the memorial in game, but it's also a big task for Frontier to validate that the person has actually passed. And then you've got the whole kind of, as you say, the mechanic of who in quotes is worthy. But on a lighter note, just kind of thinking, so Colin, I was just wondering, what would you want on your memorial? I mean, is this something we should all be preparing our death statement for? So that if one of us snuffs it, we've pre-written our memorial to go in game. So what would it be then? What do you think your memorial would be?
I've told you I was ill.
It's not flu.
Yeah. Sue, do you want to? You got a point about validating?
My memorial would just say dead, DEAD, in capital letters. Memorials. So I think the validation thing is right, and Frontier are not going to start demanding people send them
death certificates.
No, whatever. But if I was Frontier, I would. My approach would be internally. Okay, well, we've already started doing it, so we need to continue doing it. As soon as we did it for one person, we've opened the floodgates. We need to do it for everybody. And externally, my approach would be, yes, of course we'll do it. Absolutely, no question, of course. And I would evaluate them on a case by case basis. And if they came from somebody whose account was whose forum account was brand new and whose game account only had a few hours on it, and it came on a private message on Twitter with no grammar or and loads of typos or whatever, I might be a bit like, I mean, maybe that's the editor and me coming out, but I might be a bit like, well, maybe we won't do that one. But if they come from anybody known, anybody who's got a forum account in good standing, anybody who's been playing the game a long time, I would just wouldn't question it. I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. What would you like it to say? And then subject to decency checks, I would stick in a tourist beacon. And my rationale for that is, yes, you would get yes, you will get hoaxes, and yes, you will get people wasting Frontier's time. But the cost of doing anything else is much, much greater than the cost of having a few dud memorials in the game. I mean, actually, the cost of having a listening, not a listening post, a what are they called? One of those little points of interests. It might be a listening post, actually. The cost of having one of those that broadcasts a message about a spurious death is much, much lower than the cost of the PR cost of telling people, actually, we put a memorial in for Jim's dad, but we're not going to do it for your mum. Like, I just think it's an absolute. It'll be a nightmare to manage otherwise. And also that approach comes with a useful get out of jail free card, which is, if it becomes unmanageable, they will be completely entitled to say, look, we're really sorry. We tried to do this the right way. We've said that we'll accommodate as far as we possibly can, but we are completely inundated, and we don't have the resources to do this anymore. So we are sad to admit that from the 1st of January, we will no longer be doing memorials in game, and as a policy, as a rule. And it's not because we don't want to; it's because we're completely unequipped to deal with the volume that we've received. And everybody would understand. Everybody would understand, because that rule would be fair, apply to everybody, and it wouldn't be like they hadn't tried.
Okay, Ben.
So I'm gonna first of all bring up what Stephen Usher was saying, which is, surely everybody should get a teamstone from Frontier Elite 2 saying game over. Which is, that's a possibility. What I personally would like to see would be, I don't know, some kind of orbital graveyards, perhaps. Maybe in the T&ILO system.
Oh, that would be a really good system. Yeah, I don't know why, it just sounds right.
And frankly, I would actually automate it in such a way that basically you'd have report a death kind of, frontier.com/elite dangerous /report a death or something like that. And it would be, commander name, commander's account name, and maybe when they died or something like that. So that, and then that would essentially get their name put into a database of fallen commanders. And then that database is basically read from, and it would go on to, I would say, a memorial wall, I guess, or something like that. That's done as a very nice, unique asset, but can be easily replicated. And, you got a wall that maybe fits 20 commanders, and then you make another one that fits another 20, and so on. Just make a really nice, respectful graveyard. Frankly, I would also probably include one. I'd also include a pet cemetery as well. Let the co-pilots have their say, but obviously I'd make the pet cemetery haunted.
Shan.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, my first question around this is, we hope this isn't going to be a common occurrence for Frontier to do. But a couple of years ago now, a really good friend of mine who was an elite player, actually he kept the company on TeamSpeak during my 32-hour marathon to hit Combat Elite back in 2015, I think it was. A couple of years ago, he was killed in a motorcycle accident. And I still miss him now. He was actually one of the very few people who actually knew my proper name. But anyway, and because he was an elite player, and because he was with me in this, I wrote to Will, and I recounted the story and said, Will, I know you do this thing all the time, but is there anything that you can do? And Will said, yes, it's really sad news, sympathise, etc., but we've stopped doing this now because it's too resource intensive, and we're running out of ways of doing it, and everyone would want one, etc., etc. So they stopped doing it for the reasons Will said, and as much as I think as it is a nice thing to do, I don't know of any other game that does this for
Not even Guild Wars.
no, not even Guild Wars. You have to be a real, in quotes, community name to get an NPC name in Guild Wars. You
I'm
can't.
sorry, Shan. Another comment from Stephen Usher. Remember, this hearse is in the top 10% of the galaxy.
Yeah, so in terms of thing, I can kind of see I can see what they're trying to do, but if they open it up to everyone, then doesn't it become a bit diminished by the fact that it's just a list of names somewhere? Oh, and Souverain, a listening post for the dead is called a séance, by the way.
I don't actually think it does, Shan. I would say, would you say that Arlington Memorial or the lists of people in your local village, the war memorials that you've got, diminish what they did?
Combined, it said. I mean, we were fortunate enough to go across the Normandy and to the cemetery for Omaha and the D-Day Beach, and that is incredibly moving
Exactly.
to see. But the question is that in my mind, having it in game, it's just, and if I don't, it's a different magnitude of feeling, I think.
I think that's why if you had some kind of memorial wall in game that you could fly up to and read the names with nice, respectful zero-G ornaments kind of thing, like a living flame or something. I don't know.
The other thing I have, and it's my evil side thinking this at the moment, yes, I do have an evil side, so you can.
You think?
Yeah,
I really do not want to meet your evil side.
If there was a certain place in game where it was almost like people made a pilgrimage to remember fallen friends, then I can guarantee there are player groups there who would make a beeline for that to try and add more names to the list in terms of killing players, ganking, and everything else like that.
Yeah, but they're not going to be killing real people by killing them off in the game, are they?
Think about it. If we all gathered together to, I don't know.
You're thinking of Warcraft funerals again, aren't you?
I'm thinking like Warcraft funerals.
Yeah.
Yes, they would be in private group, but you'd want it to be open for people to attend. So it then, I don't know. It just becomes a magnet for gankers, unfortunately.
Okay, quickly, Souverain.
Yeah. So I think the wall, the wall of a list of names. I think that the reason that works for the World War One is because it is a statement on the magnitude of the event. The problem with deaths of players and players' families in the Elite Dangerous community is that they're not one event. They're completely disparate causes, which means that the wall of names would, I think that it would end up feeling like it trivializes each of those individual occurrences. Secondly, I think the Tierna's graveyard idea is slightly. I think that circumvents it slightly, because if you. So this is just an idea, and I haven't really thought it through, and it's probably shit. But if you had loads of persistent wreckage in the Tierna's list system, so it was a POI. You drop into it, and it's just loads and loads and loads of wrecks as far as you can see. If every time somebody wrote in and said, "Can I have a memorial to so and so?" Frontier took one of those wrecks and made it a POI and gave it a signal source and made it so that when you scanned it, it dropped a little bit of information into your comms panel about the deceased. It wouldn't involve the creation of new assets. It's a single consistent thing that they can do for everybody. It doesn't it doesn't diminish them by blocking them all together. It means that each one has its own little thing, and it's entirely within the lore of the game. So I wonder whether that would work.
Well, personally, I think that this one is a difficult one because everybody wants to put in a memorial with a massive eulogy in there for people turning up. Now this has been done before, and these things get absolutely massive. They really do. So they have to limit it to a certain way, and also effectively, if you do get hoaxers and someone who's pretended to be dead, and then all of a sudden their account becomes active again, then obviously they're going to have to be taken off that memorial wall. I mean, I think I'm agreeing with the fact that maybe something like a memorial wall where you can see the names and maybe one small comment next to those names can be done. But if they start putting in tourist beacons for every single request, that's going to be far too much resources in one particular system.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Like fleet carriers.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think it's about time to move on from here. I think what we'll do is we'll move on to the I think the in-game events, because let's be honest, there's not been not been much Galnet news this week, but yes, we've had the Emperor has decided the status of Hadrian Duval. Now, for those of you following the Empire's storyline, the latest sort of member of the Duval family, which had been basically outcast, if you like, has asked to be returned or to become member of the imperial family. This has been obviously turned down by the Emperor, but the Emperor has gone and pardoned him for previous crimes. So all the whole thing with Nova Imperium and all that kind of stuff, that's all water under the bridge. But he's not a prince. They're not going to make him an official member of the royal family. Now, obviously, as Commander Witherspoon says, he's not a prince, but he's not a naughty boy either. It's basically the upshot. So, Ben and Shan, what do you think to the way the storyline of the Empire's unfolding?
It's fair enough. I'm interested as to why Aisling is supporting him, considering what he's kind of done. But then again, blood's thicker than water. He's a bit confused. He's a naughty boy.
Yeah, but then again, she has just lost her father, and
looking towards keeping the family close and things.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I think she's just been watching season 4 of The Crown.
I've just started up with that again, and watching season 3. And whilst I get what they did with the year jump, it's like, hang on, that's not Matt Smith. Where's Matt gone?
Oh,
it's an interesting twist. I'm curious to see where it goes, or are they kind of drawing a line under it?
Well, under the
Crown.
No, and I think we're still talking about the Imperial storyline here.
Sorry, I thought we were talking about the Crown still.
No, I'm pulling people away from talking about the Crown, because otherwise,
Crown gets more fictionalized in the whole series. But,
yeah. I don't think that this has meant that the Imperial storyline has ended. I think it's just they're consolidating their side of things before the Neo-Marlerists make the next move. Everything's gone quiet on the federal front for the moment. However, the Alliance as we've been talking about, they have now managed to complete their CGs. They've completed the CGs 3 days early. And yes, so the Alliance is now going to have new bases in the Coalsack Nebula, and the Thargoids have been beaten back, allowing the Alliance uncontested access to all the meta-alloys in that nebula. Now, it's been highlighted on other videos, I think, of Obsidian Ants, that the Alliance are actually going from strength to strength, while the Feds and the Empire get entangled over the Marlinists. How does you think that's playing out?
I think it's a good thing, because for many years in the game, the Federation and Empire have had all the limelight, and the Alliance has kind of been the scruffy kid in the corner. So I think it's good the Alliance is getting the focus now, just to emphasise the fact they are a galactic superpower, as well as the Federation and Empire. So yeah, I think it's a good thing. It adds a bit of variation, I think.
If I remember rightly, both the Federation and the Empire are the real big hitters, but because they're so, and the Alliance is well behind those two as militarily and basically with a number of systems. However, because the Empire and the Federation are basically so level pegged, neither of them can try and take over the Alliance without the other big power taking advantage of them and having a war on two fronts. So there does seem to be a kind of balance of power thing that's slowly changing because of the metal alloys. And I think that's a good thing. So, obviously this week there was no newsletter. Yeah. Did anyone see what the store alert was?
Store alert!
No.
I just wanted to know what the new ship skins were for the store alert, but
Store alert! Nobody gives a shit.
Maybe it's a Santa Tharg ship skin, Colin.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need Santa Tharg. I want a Santa Tharg bobblehead by the end of the year. Ah, dear.
What does Santa Tharg's face look like then, Colin? In your imagination, what would he look like?
Probably yours, but with a really, really bad green beard.
Green beard?
Yeah,
Wouldn't Santa Tharg just be a Thargoid, like a Cyclops, something like that, with a red and white paint job?
Hey, there's an idea.
And sparkly fairy lights on.
And some fairy lights, yes.
The
engine can be fairy light. No. The Tharglets can be fairy lights.
No,
I've
got a better one. Each of the petals of the Santa Tharg is covered by a Christmas hat.
And a little bobble.
And a little bobble as a centre. So there you have it. There you go. Frontier, we have just designed your Santa Tharg. Go to it.
God,
Yeah, I know. Okay. Well, if they say something like that and it turns up, then we know they've been listening to us.
You know you wanna.
No, Sovereign, we're not going anywhere near Santa Dawn. Beetlejude sent that her version of what
her
Dawn looked like. Her fantasy of Dawn. And no.
What we're talking about.
What?
The Santa Dawn picture. Put it in Twitch.
I don't have this picture.
No, we're going to move swiftly on. We're going to have some adverts, and then we will come back with even more discussion. This time about the exclusive rewards that they're doing for CGs.
Eddie Lee Wise, tailor amongst the stars and Lave station resident, has fallen victim to his latest product release. Not content with cutting his cloth, with the aid of his wife Barbs and his husband Ken, to bring out the very best in every commander and cut a dashing figure, he appears to have launched a new beauty range targeted at the pilot who wants to, quite literally, take years off their image. Whilst it hasn't been unknown for pilots to use the wonders of Hollow Me technology to remove the odd wrinkle, or give themselves a suck, tuck and pluck to keep their youthful figure, Eddie's latest invention performs your beauty regimen at a microscopic level, putting lippy and a good foundation on your very DNA. As a hands-on flat cap wearing donkey jacket toting kind of guy, Eddie used his experimental cream on himself first, hoping to recapture some of the rugged steeplejack looks of his youth, which, we're led to believe, is where it all started to go wrong. Having experienced hair loss in some places and strange hair growth in others earlier in his life, the cream's immediate effect was to reverse both of them, giving him flowing locks and a chin as smooth as a 0.1G docking computer-led landing. The effects didn't stop there. He found new energy, a trim new waistline and the reversal of years of abuse of his body, but it carried on. His voting patterns have gone from pension-hoarding right, through angry hard-working left, and right out the other side into hippie student Green Party. He's shrunk in all dimensions, and to all intents and purposes, this titan of tailoring now more closely resembles Eddie Jr., age 7 3/4. His voice has unbroken. He went through a phase of terrible acne and has complained of frequent cases of premature detonation every time someone wiggles their asp in front of him. This, however, has been the least of his problems. As a temporary keyholder for Lave Radio, he found that station bosses rejected his ID at the checkpoint and promptly locked him out of the studio, telling him that he's far too young to hear that sort of thing and to run along and get his mum to come back with a note. And no, Eddie, a scrawled piece of paper saying, "Eddie's excused PE this week as he's got a bit of a cold," isn't what they're looking for. Nurse Wyeth has been called and is attempting every ageing treatment she can come up with, including soaking him in cold tea, scrunching him up and then ironing him to make him look well used, burning his edges with a candle to give him that just escaped from a combat zone vibe, and of course rubbing him with castor oil and specially developed aging liniment at every opportunity, attempting to bring back his lumbago. Station dietitians are attempting to force-feed him the richest of foods to bring back his gout, and he's been gargling with gravel and cigar ash to try and bring back his usual gruff northern tones. We wish Eddie well. Anyone who has purchased some Lave brand anti-aging cream is advised not to rub it on any part of their anatomy, for fear that even mild doses might cause them to actually de-evolve to a more primitive form and take up PvP.
Eddie Lee Wise here from Eddie Lee Wise, plus me mum and dad over at Lave Station. New this month, we've got our range of anti-aging creams, an all-over treatment that just lifts the years off your DNA. Me telomeres have never been longer. Me mum says they're a wonder, as she's never looked perkier, and father can't keep hands to himself. Our latest fashion range includes short shorts, sandals and duffel coats. We also sell a range of voice changers for anyone that uses too much and goes through puberty in reverse. Mum says I've got to go do my homework now, but I want to go fly spaceships. Anyone got booster seats so I can reach controls? Station commander smells of wee.
Oh dear. Ben, I all I can say is the truckers really went after you, didn't they?
Dave was talking to me, and yeah, it was fucking hilarious. But I actually found out that this is potentially, if we keep the in-game stuff, keep in with real stuff, there is in EGRPG, there is a product, a cream which you can apply to yourself, which basically has the effects of de-aging you, essentially.
Yes.
I'm trying to find what it's called, but and seeing as EDRPG is an actual thing in lore, there is an anti-Asiatic cream that can have these effects, and I personally blame Spider-Man Games for it.
Mm. All right, well, first of all, I will just, before we go on to the main discussion, I will just apologize to anybody who's clicked on the link that Shan put in the Twitch chat showing Beetlejuice's fantasy figure. So,
yeah, I found out what it is. It's the nature cheat euthanizing cream.
Well,
I'm apologising. It's a great piece of art of the leader of the Russian Republic in 3309.
Right. Well, moving on to it was going to be the main discussion, but obviously events have overtaken us this week. One of the things that we wanted to actually quickly touch on is that for the CGs at the moment, you are getting double engineered modules if you manage to achieve a certain level within the CG. So obviously, people want to know what the potential benefits and the downsides to this kind of reward is. So, Shan, you want to kick us off?
Yes. Regarding this particular CG, I don't think we actually know the specification of the module. I mean, it says it's a class 5, but is it a class 5E or C or D or even an A? And can you then have a experimental effect added to the double engineering? So we don't really know what the net effect of it is. And I think that question, when answered, will raise other questions, because the thing is that are we seeing power creep now coming into the game with these unique modules? Because if they are better than you can possibly get as far as jump range for a class 5, then that's another level up, if you see what I mean, in player power we've got. If it's a class C and the combined effect is the same as a max engineered class A, then there's no benefit. It's just another, it's a free way of getting a max class A drive. So I hope it's the latter, but it really depends on what this module is, I think.
Okay, Severin?
The whether it's power creep or not, I think in this case, I don't disagree that this new approach of giving us modules that have been engineered in a way that players can't normally achieve on their own is a potential recipe for power creep. This example, I don't think is, because nobody's going to be breaking any records with ships with grade 5 FSDs. If it was the largest class FSD in the game, and it was a collection of effects that gave it a greater effective range than any other, then yes, you would be, this CG would be crowning would be permanently baking in a cohort of players who had a higher jump range than anybody else. That isn't the case because it's only class 5. So it may at worst mean that the ships that use class 5 FSDs, some owners of those can get further than others, but it won't be power creep in the traditional sense.
Well, if it's the same stats, I believe that would affect buckyballing.
Well, at the moment, Witherspoon has spotted that the CMs admitted today that they didn't know what the spec of the new FSD module actually was. So we're going to get a double-engineered module, but we're not quite so sure what it'll do for you.
I hope the power creep doesn't happen through that, because although it's a good incentive to do the CGs, if they are like this CG. I mean, you mentioned earlier about doing it the proper way and of hauling the stuff out there, but if you didn't have a carrier, it was an awful lot of hard work to ship enough tonnage out of there to get in the top 25%. So I would rather personally have these sorts of rewards available to all players, regardless of bank balance. So yes, you still had to do stuff for it, and you still had to work for it. You still had to demonstrate skill to get it. I'm not sort of suggesting my win button, but what wasn't so keen on is having that open only to the players who had a fleet carrier.
Yeah. The Wintermute made a very nice point. Oh, sorry. Bitstorm made a very nice point. Is that, if you're out of the bubble and you can't take part of these CGs, you're going to miss out anyway. There's a lot of people who will be missing out on these modules. I mean, I've tried for both, and the first CG I was at 75% until the very last day, and then all of a sudden I wasn't able to get in on that last day, and when I finally logged in, I'd found I'd been bumped down to 100%, so I never got the module. And the other issues is, of course, it's in this case top 25% now. As I was saying, I wasn't able to even off one Thargoid interceptor, so therefore my contribution to that particular CG was a big fat 0. So God knows how I was going to be able to get on the top 25%.
Sorry, Colin. As Stephen said, if you're an explorer, the explorer is the person who would benefit most from that module, apart from bucketballers. And you say, oh, it's just a class 5. Well, look at the ships that have a class 5 jump drive: the Crate Phantom, the Asp, the Aspects Explorer. They are, they would be knocking on the door of the Anaconda, the jump range, with this drive, if it's what people think it is. So the very people who would benefit it most are the people who can't
get to the CGs in order to get it. There is a certain level of irony to that. Ben, have you got any opinions on this?
I'm agreeing with the level of that. The kind of people who would benefit the most from it might well not be in a position to actually get it, or at worst, it might mean they're, well, do I go on this expedition that I was wanting to do, or do I return to the bubble, potentially even suicide return to the bubble, to get a reward that will benefit me in future events?
Can I just clarify? Are these CGs still ongoing?
No, it finished today.
No, but they have said that the CG's rewards are different from now on, and that there will be more of these CGs which will have this kind of engineered equipment.
But I've lost my chance to get this specific double engineered grade 5 FSD.
This one might come back again.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, it might come back again. It's up to them. They haven't said it's exclusive.
Yeah. Okay.
Although Commander XLA has now just told me that the level that you needed to get the module for the Thargoid CG were the 25% was that you had to have combat bonds greater than 38 million. So that's basically 16. No, hang on.
It's 80. No, hold on. How is it? 38 to 15.
19 Cyclopses you'll have to wipe out in order to have any chance.
That's punchy. That is a lot. I mean, that's like most of a day in a Wing of Thor. I reckon.
But if they're going to keep doing this, then I think they need to. We need the information that says, is this power creep or not? Because if it is power creep, then I am uneasy about the direction it's going. Yeah. If it's simply like by having a Class C module and it having the same capability as an engineer Class A, then I haven't got, and so the power level, the jump range, and whatever remains the same. Then for me, that's less of an issue. However, as was said earlier, because this is a fast boot FSD, it could also affect buckyballing, which means I have to look at the spec of the ship in a buckyballing.
I thought the fast boot is that the 54321 thing? Because I thought fast boot was I've powered off my FSD and now I'm powering it back on again. I thought that's what fast boot did.
Wow. Yeah, well, I think that the main point is, personally, maybe these items should only really be available to, say, the top 10. If they're going to be that overpowered, then really the number of them should be restricted.
Fast boot is when you switch off the actual you depower the module and then you turn it back on again. Fast boot is it is not that the countdown to each jump gets much.
So how would that affect buckyballers then? Because they ain't going to be turning their FSD off, are they?
Well, it depends, because if you are running at the limit of your power,
yeah, but when are the buckyballers going to be turning their FSD off? The only time it might happen would be if they're going into combat, and if they're doing a buckyball race, they ain't going to be going into combat.
Well, someone said that. Got Witherspoon saying that it really only the fast boot is really only handy if you've got if you've been grom bombed.
It's a very very specific mod.
The other thing that we need to bear in mind, though, is doesn't it also manipulate the optimal mass of the FSD drive?
According to Kaizen, it gives you a 16% optimal mass, or 15% rather, which so you get slightly more range per jump.
So that is a big thing.
Potentially quite a big thing, yeah.
Yeah, but what we're looking at is, let's say there's 3,000 people that took part in the CG. The top 25% got it. So what's that, 500 people? It's not going to be that many people who've got it.
Also, as I've said loads and loads of times and will continue to say, the existence of somebody with better stuff than me does not diminish my enjoyment of the game at all. Right. This isn't EVE Online. It's not ARC. Elite Dangerous is designed to be fully enjoyable in any game mode, and other players' progress or lack of is completely irrelevant to my experience.
But in things like buckyballing, it does directly have an effect on that.
Yeah, it will. If you're correct, if somebody can get an advantage, if somebody can jump faster than everybody else, then potentially. But as I said earlier, if you're running an Anaconda that's completely stripped down for range and you're running the highest class of FSD you will be a grade 5 FSD won't be able to touch you. So it will only give people an unfair advantage if they're doing buckyball races in a specific size class.
Sorry. Right. Oh, we got a cut off there. Did someone cut off?
What did you say, Sham?
Well, which people do. I mean, I'm thinking about also one the downsides of running an Anaconda in exploration is the thing handles like a pig in Super Cruise. It is not fun to fly in Super Cruise when you're.
It doesn't matter.
It does, because if you've got there's been times when I thought, I'd really sacrifice this extra 3 years of light years of jump range for something that was actually nice to fly. So if you talk about min-maxing, yes, the Anaconda still rules, but in terms of an overall pleasurable experience, the Crate Phantom is a nicer exploration ship to fly.
But the goalposts of this argument appear to be on roller skates. That it doesn't. I completely agree with you. My point is that this doesn't negatively affect buckyball because unless it is ship size limited, then it has no bearing. And as Mac has just pointed out in the chat, you can just ban them. You can just ban the module the same way that PvP fights ban regeneration lasers.
Yeah, according to Witherspoon, the buckyball racers have already disqualified this module from their races. So they'd ask to see, okay, what's your build? And if you've got this module, and they'll say, nah, you're disqualified. So
The surely the fact they have to do that in the first place is a sign of power creep.
Maybe, but who cares? This feels like slightly trying to find problems where they aren't. They don't really.
Well, we
exist.
don't know. It's all hypothetical at the moment because we don't actually know what the stats are. So.
Yeah, but even if it wasn't hypothetical, it would still feel like trying to find a problem. Like I feel like we're now saying, well, it doesn't impact my enjoyment at all, and it doesn't impact competitive play at all. But it's still a problem in theory. In principle, it's a slippery slope. Yada yada. Like we're sort of seeking problems where they don't exist. I think.
I do feel like it's one thing where the Frontier's saying, well, this will be a nice reward, something nice, and it's not going to put that too many in there, and then all of a sudden everybody's going, but that ruins the entire game.
Yeah, exactly. Elite is in quite a happy place. I always think if you read reviews or watch videos about people playing Elite, the overwhelming, whenever I read about journalists talking about Elite Dangerous, the overwhelming tone of it is always, this is my experience as a pilot of a spaceship. This is I play Elite because of the deep simulation and how it makes me feel. They do not talk about the incredible sandbox for emergent player-based content and the tense, the stuff that comes out of player interactions a great deal, with a few exceptions. I just think we're you have to really be looking for it if you think that this stuff is going to ruin your experience. It's not what the game's built on.
I guess and yes, it's completely unfounded, but I've seen it happen elsewhere, and it might be wounds from that. My concern is do it for jump drives, and then is the next thing a railgun, or is it a shield, or is it a X, Y, and Z? And yes, you can go say, well, it doesn't matter, doesn't care, blah blah blah. But then that's taking a very blinkered view of the player base, and so
all of a sudden, do we get lasers with both corrosive and heat damage?
Yeah, you are right. You are right. But I just think that there are two things. These are general principles that I've noticed in life. There are two things that people say that are nearly always indicative of intellectually bankrupt arguments. One is it's the principle of the thing. I've never heard anybody with an actually decent argument back it up with it's the principle of the thing. It normally indicates that somebody's ran out of points. And two is it's a slippery slope. I've never heard anybody sensibly justify something with it's a slippery slope. It's nearly always shorthand for, but I don't like it, and I've run out of good reasons why. I just think that until that happens, this really isn't a problem.
Right. Okay. We're going to leave this here because I think this has got legs to come back to at a later point. But unfortunately, time is against us again this week. So I'd like to take us all to the community corner. And first up, the Dark Wheel has made it to Lave. Lave Radio would like to welcome the Dark Wheel to Lave in the name of science, reiterating that the Dark Wheel are in Lave with permission and have no desire, let's put that in air quotes, no desire to take the system over or indeed take the galaxy over. In other fronts, the Dark Wheel now owns Faralak and are starting the march to expand to LFT 509 in 3 jumps to test the best of the 3 goals, hopefully around January. So,
I, for one, welcome our
friends,
Sinister Overlords or something like that.
We are the Sinister Overlords, apparently.
Well, we're not the ones on the expansion drive.
No, true. Never have been.
Actually, looking down, maybe I am on an expansion drive.
I enjoyed Kaizen posted something in our recording studio channel the other day, and he was like, now a load of my guys have been saying that we should definitely displace you and take over Lave just as an experiment, and I've said that even if that was an experiment that we wanted to do, even if I definitely wouldn't do it without their permission. And so I'm just telling you guys that we're not going to completely take over your system and throw you out of your home unless that's what you want.
What does that sound like, Captain Kirk?
It was brilliant. It was really amusing.
Yeah, we come in peace, shoot to kill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Right. Next up, Speedball 4, Newground. It's happening this weekend. To get there, the hull seals have the HSRC Beachmaster leaving the system of Pliny on November the 21st at 2 a.m. GMT. That's 2 a.m. That will take you to where the Speedball is happening. We are including
Which
the
is
FA. Mhm. Which is with the FAQ, with the rules and the tutorial, will all have links in the show notes. So if you want to have a look at them, we thoroughly recommend doing a speedball because it's hilarious. It really is. Next up, the pilot.
With regards to Speedball, I already have I've got, and I'm going to be taking a Crate Phantom along as well, just to basically get exploded.
Get exploded.
And
yes.
There is also a most expensive ship or something like that to die or something.
Oh right, so you've got to submit the value of your ship. So your gold-plated Anaconda, when it crashes into the they're going to crash it into a planet. That's the winner, is it?
It's something along those lines.
Right. Right. Next up, we have the pilot who does some fantastic videos. He has done his latest YouTube video is entitled "Why Should You Buy Elite Dangerous in 2020?"
He should retitle it "Why Do You Need to Buy Elite Dangerous in 2020?"
well, you don't need to. That's the point.
When it was free in 2020.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, why should you claim your free copy in 2020?
Yeah. So basically, I would recommend trying to catch up with the latest video from the pilot. They're always high quality videos, and they're always got something useful to say. Next up, continuing the theme of free, HCS voice packs are. They're going to be giving away one of their voice packs for free to coincide with the free Epic store giveaway of Elite Dangerous. So at the moment, there's a poll running to see which one it is. One of which is Leo, which is I think the Red Dwarf Holly computer, Norman Lovett. And I haven't got that one yet, so I might be tempted. But just to mention, they also have a new voice pack coming soon called Delta, which might sound a bit GLaDOS-like. Did anybody else think that?
Gladys or GLaDOS?
GLaDOS. I mean, I thought having a psychopathic computer flying with you, Shan, would just be a home from home.
Well, I'm just thinking back because I remember conversations I had with HES guys years ago now that they were trying to get the actress who played GLaDOS to do a voice pack. So perhaps that's happened.
Perhaps it has. Well, you'll find out soon because Delta will be coming along quite soon. But personally, I'm still hoping that Leo is going to be the free pack.
The other thing with people voice packs like that, and I wonder if it is GLaDOS that's done it, because I know when they were talking about the Kate Russell voice pack, is that it had in it a slight random chance of boosting when you put the doc command on.
Was that just because Kate asked it to, because she's mischievous that way?
Well, she had this computer called Doris, I think, in her book.
Yes,
that was slightly homicidal. So I think the fact they put this random boost in there was supposedly a Doris.
The drunk is Frederick. Is Cecil, sorry. Cecil does random things too, though, doesn't he?
Yes, he does, but I think anybody who's bought Cecil should know what they're actually getting.
True.
Which is why he's disabled my ship.
Cecil was banned to the cockpit, is he?
Yes, Cecil was bought to help special effect.
Yeah.
But as he doesn't help me in the cockpit, he is permanently switched off.
Well, I did notice The truckers were playing the ship's parrots on their show the other day, actually. Yeah, they were getting invaded by the parrots. You're right.
Right, I do apologise for that. Right, moving on. Does anybody have any final business or questions they'd like to ask before we do our shout-outs? We would like to hear what everybody's opinion is really of the memorial idea that, the T. Nisler graveyard maybe idea would...
I think we should ask the community to write our memorials for us.
Oh, God, no.
Oh, God. Yes, do it. Yes.
Yeah. Shan's dead. Thank fuck for that.
Oh, that's horrible, Ben. That's absolutely a horrible thing to say.
So basically, the question that you'd like to ask is, what would you like to see on the Lave Radio crew's tombstone? Thank you. God.
More specifically, what would you write on Shan's?
Beneath this sod lies another.
That's actually a really bad take.
Yes. Yeah, Billy Connolly apparently wants a recording of whenever anybody stands over his grave. So as soon as you stand over his grave, a recording will blare out saying, "Get off my balls."
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, so
I think you could do that as well. I mean,
it's
thinking about it, yeah.
Yeah, so
Don't you get graves with Facebook pages now and things?
Oh my God, what?
I'm sure you get like social media grave kind of ideas.
Jesus.
Well,
modern world, honestly. Ugh, that's so grotesque.
It's a serious question. I mean, I know we talked about it in chat when Colin was dying.
Thanks.
It was about a digital will of, if one of us passed, how would we know? Other than that, we haven't been on the show for a couple of weeks. How do you let people know who don't know you personally that the worst has happened, and what happens to your stuff and all this?
Yeah, this is an interesting question.
It's a valid thing to think about. Yes, it's morbid, but in the current climate, it's probably quite relevant.
Yes, I like this one from Kaizen. He sort of, "Here's lies, dead Shan, still as sus as fuck." Yeah, here lies dead Shan. He was not the imposter. We've got to stop. We've got to do the shout outs. But, it can be a light-hearted approach to a serious subject. We do apologise if anybody else is affected by this. We are only joking. Honest. Anyway, shout-outs. Our sister station, Hutton Orbital Radio, it broadcasts on a Thursday at 8:30 p.m. You can tune in at twitch.tv at Hutton Orbital Truckers, all one word. Or if you just want the audio, go to radio.forthemug.com. For the discerning commander that likes a bit of CQC action, also check out the CQC Discord at discord.me/EliteDangerousCQC. There you will meet other commanders like Commander Obi-Wan and Commander Musketeer, who will quite happily murder you and make you feel about as skillful as a dead snail. Also, we'd also like to point out we have a literary discussion podcast called Data Slate. Now, this podcast is done by the station commander, Alan Stroud. Next episode will be episode 20, which will be released tomorrow. We do ask that as part of the Lave Radio network. So if you want to have a literary discussion about sci-fi and fantasy books, just pop over and subscribe with whatever podcatcher you use. It will be always appreciated. So we also hopefully have a Galnet news from Commander Wotherspoon to be presented after the end of the show.
We do.
We do. Excellent, thank you. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank everybody who's chipped in on the Twitch chat and all the other chats that have been going on, including YouTube and Facebook and blah 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 blah. Because we can do that now because we are awesome. So with that, that is it for another episode of Lave Radio. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, email us at info@laveradio.com. You can hit us up at facebook.com/laveradio, tweet us at laveradio, or you can join our Discord server by going to discord.io/laveradio. We also have a TeamSpeak server where commanders come to hang out and chat, and you can find that at teamspeak.laveradio.com. Now, do get in touch if you have any questions or if there's anything you'd like us to discuss in a future episode. Lave Radio is recorded live on a Tuesday evening at 8:30 GMT and streamed out at laveradio.com/live. So thanks to Ben, thanks to Shan, and thanks to Sovereign for joining us. And special thanks goes, as always, to today's tech specialist, Commander Ventura. But until next time, Commanders, fly safe. And if you can't do that, fly dangerous.
Is your life like this?
Sounds like someone having an orange inserted into them. You need a safe word. Space can be lonely.
I'm gonna see the galaxy.
Ah, damn it. No worries, guys. Hold the fort for 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
According to scientists, Uranus is full of methane gas.
I think you're right, though, Colin.
What have you done with Shan, and when can we have him back?
Galnet News Digest, 17th of November 3306. We read the news, so you don't have to. In this week's news,
do vowels draw closer in the face of adversity?
Gold taps in the coal sack.
Mind the view.
Pet rocks unite against the Thargoids.
Do vowels draw closer in the face of adversity?
After being comprehensively defeated in combat and driven out of the Federation border system LTT 1935, the Imperial family appears to be drawing closer together. With Imperial forces driven back, Neo-Marlinist suspects who've been granted temporary federal citizenship in the LTT 1935 system remain free to plan further atrocities, and further strikes against both the Empire and against the ruling Duval dynasty are anticipated. It is in the light of this threat that Emperor Arissa has pardoned Nova Imperium leader Hadrian Duval, after personal pleading by Princess Aisling Duval. Seems like the Duval family will put aside their infighting and jockeying for eligibility to the Imperial throne, and with the help of Senator Petraeus and the Imperial Internal Security Service will stand united against the NMLA terrorist threat, in much the same way as pins stand resolute against the ball in a bowling alley. Gold taps in the coal sack.
Materials to build 4 new Alliance starports near the Coalsack Nebula were delivered so quickly that the Alliance has been unable to process them, and the construction of the 4 new starports has been delayed until later in the week. The Alliance had set its expectations low, anticipating that it might be able to build only 1 starport with 3 outposts. However, its expectations were surpassed, with its most ambitious target exceeded in record time. Expectations are now high that when the starports are eventually commissioned, they will have advanced outfitting, shipyard and other facilities, including a viewing platform inside the docking area and gold taps in the bathroom. And lots of Thargoids to kill, because where would the fun be if they vanished? Mind the view.
It's that time of year again. Fearless commanders are flying close to a high-gravity planet, dropping to normal space, turning flight assist off, and perversely keeping an even keel while trying to thrust upwards in a futile attempt to break the laws of nature, resulting in them plummeting towards the tourist beacon named The View, at speeds approaching 4 kilometres per second. The trick, of course, is to attain these speeds, which are in the region of 12 times the speed of sound, without smashing your ship to pieces on the unforgiving surface of planet HR 6164 ABC1. This location, The View, is infamous as a graveyard for many dozens of ships from the Distant Worlds 2 expedition who discovered their underpowered explorer builds and paper-thin hulls were no match for a large piece of metal-rich rock. In fact, with the number of ships crashing there, the planet's getting more metal-rich by the day. If you would like to witness the spectacle, or if you would like to experience what a meteoric fall is really like, the event is taking place over the weekend of 21st and 22nd of November. You can read all the details at bit.ly/SB4 Forum. The Hull Seals carrier, the HSRC Beachmaster, will be departing Pliny for the race venue very early on the morning of 21st of November, so if you want to travel, make sure you're docked on Friday evening. And don't forget to miss the ground. Pet Rocks unite against the Thargoids.
In what has been characterised as an offer of truly epic proportions, the Pilots Federation will be giving away licences and offering membership of the exclusive club for commanders completely free from Thursday for a week. There are concerns amongst commanders that not everyone in the galaxy might have heard the glad tidings, so please, everyone, remember to post this news in all the forums, repeatedly. Of course, commanders who are already in possession of a Pilots Federation membership won't need a second membership. However, if they have a friend who's been struggling to save up the 5 credits to pay for a membership, this could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Commanders without any friends may like to consider whether their siblings, parents, children, dog, cat, hamster, potted cactus or pet rock might like to blaze their own trail in a dangerous galaxy. And that's this week's Galnet News.
Galnet News. We read the news so you don't have to.
The Red Planet taxi service have recently moved into the luxury liner market, and their flagship, Big Red Taxi, has been plying the space lanes in Wolf 25 for some weeks now. We join Trace and Chantal in the food prep area on board.
Alright, Shants, I'll do business class and you do luxury this time, alright, babe? Tea, coffee, coffee, tea, tea, coffee, coffee, tea, tea, madam? Gently, madam, enjoy your tea, madam. Tea, coffee, coffee, tea.
Oh, could I have an orange juice, please?
Tea, coffee, coffee, tea.
Oh, yes, but I'd like an orange juice if I could, please.
Tea, coffee, coffee, tea.
Oh, okay. Tea then, please.
Tea, sir? Certainly, sir. Enjoy your tea, sir. Tea, coffee, coffee, tea, tea, coffee, coffee, tea, tea, coffee, coffee, tea, tea, coffee, coffee, tea, tea, coffee, coffee, tea.
Oh, you get all sorts here. Smells like it too. Murph, horrible stains, marigolds.
There you go.
Donkey Dick.
It says here, next.
My dear man,
Cox.
Like an obese child.
No.
Teabag.
Fluffy hat.
It's the 34th century.
Fix that.
Patient.
Nada.
Sounds majestic, because it is, Michelle.
This is Beyond Dockers.
Beyond Dockers, a mockumentary podcast available at bs-dockers.com. Also on iTunes.
Night, guys.